What's up, humanities? Okay, I'm releasing this. I was kind of debating how to go about this project, but it's going to be what we're doing here is recording a story, a retelling of one of the core kind of foundational stories from one of the Western religions. Now, you could pick Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, and honestly, some of those foundational stories tie into all three of the religions. And I decided to do it with two recordings because in this first one, I'm going to explain why we're doing it. The second video that I have that'll be attached right after this is going to be kind of the nuts and bolts of it and what the requirements are. So if you don't care for my reasoning for assigning a project like this, you can really kind of pause this video right now, just stop it and go on to the next one, and that'll give you all the requirements and tell you exactly what you need to do. But if you're a deeper thinker and you are kind of one of those skeptic type people that like, man, why is he having us do this? I would recommend listening to this brief video first. So what I'm going to do, and this will be the biggest project grade for quarter four. And it's really going to be kind of like a two-parter. I'm going to have everybody in class choose one story that interests them from one of the Western religions. Now, when I say a core foundational story, what am I talking about? I'm going to list off about 20 of them in the notes of the assignment post. But you're not limited to that because there's literally probably 1,000 or more that would be acceptable. I just don't have time to list them all off. And honestly, I probably don't know them all. But some of the big ones that would fall into this category that you could definitely do would be like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, or Noah in the Ark. Okay, Moses and the Ten Commandments, the Virgin Mary, in the birth of Jesus, or Muhammad in his, pilgrimage from Mecca to Medina. So those ones are some of the bigger, probably more well-known ones that you have, I would hope, at least have heard of, even if you don't know the story. But there's a lot of other interesting ones too. Now, why would we do this? Because I realize in this class, probably a majority of you considered yourself atheist or agnostic. And remember, I'm an agnostic too. I'm not asking you to believe it. It has nothing to do with that. But I definitely feel like if you have an understanding of these stories and kind of religion in general, remember there's 2 billion Christians in the world and well over 1 billion Muslims. It helps you understand society and the culture and other people better. I would also kind of liken it to like knowing these stories doesn't matter if they actually happened or not. It doesn't matter if you believe them or not. It's fine if you do. It's fine if you don't. But I would kind of parallel it or compare it to like learning about the Greek gods like Zeus and Apollo and Hera, Nike, the goddess of victory. I'm not sure if you guys still do it, but back when I was in school, we did a unit on Greek mythology and Greek gods. Now, very few people in the world today actually believe there actually is a Zeus on Mount Olympus. There's probably somebody out there that does, but that would be quite rare. But it was still worth studying and learning about because it goes to the roots of just kind of Western civilization in general. Or like for another example, it's like learning about like the Nordic gods like Odin and Thor and Loki. Today, you're probably familiar with those because of comic books and the Marvel movies and stuff, but originally those were all the Nordic gods. Anyway, those examples that I just gave from Nordic and Greek mythology and the ones that you'll be looking into, kind of these core foundational stories for the Western religions, whatever ones you choose that would be acceptable, this stuff has like permeated our culture. So regardless whether they're true or not, or maybe there was a nugget of truth somewhere back in history and then the story changed over time, who cares? The point is, I think you're a better, more well-rounded person if you know those. And like, it does permeate the culture. And what I mean by that is you'll see these stories from time to time referenced in movies, in the news. You might come up in a conversation. You might see it on an episode of Family Guy. Now, if you don't know the stories, it's going to go right over your head and you won't make the connection. But if you do know these stories, it helps you be a more well-rounded kind of witty, intellectual person, and you'll make that connection and just kind of have a deeper understanding of what's going on and what maybe motivates other people out there. So that's kind of my why we should do it. Now, you're going to pick one of these stories, and I want you to go, I would encourage you to pick one that you don't know really well. And some of you out there, maybe if you're an atheist and you've never gone to church or anything, you might not know any of these stories. Maybe you've just heard a few of the names or something, but that's it. Well, pick a good one and dig into it, research it. Now, how would you go about researching it? Well, you could go right to the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, which you can find copies of those easily available online, or you can just go to other websites or find a YouTube video about it, but you're going to dig in and do some research on it. And I encourage you to pick one that you don't know really well. And also, there's such a wide variety of them. Maybe you go through and you Google up a couple different ones and find one that like piques your interest. One that, because I want this assignment to be engaging and fun and interesting for you. So like, don't just pick the first thing on the list just because it's there and you just want to get it done. I really encourage you. I think there is a story out there for everybody that would really like suck you in and get you interested. So find one that where you think it'll be time well spent, okay? And if you're not sure which story to pick, by all means, shoot me an email and just tell me that. You can say, hey, I'm not really a believer. I don't have any, religious faith of any kind, and I'm looking for a good, interesting story. And I will communicate with you via email, or we'll do a phone call or chat real quick, and I'll try to give you some advice and get you onto one that would suit your interests. Okay, so hopefully you find this valuable, and then this is really going to be kind of a 2-part assignment because you're doing part 1 now, which will be a pretty big grade. I think I'm going to make it worth 25 points. So it'll be the single biggest assignment grade for quarter 4. But you're also going to do another recording a week or so down the road where you're going to research a key core foundational story from one of the Eastern religions. So you're going to end up recording 2 different stories total, and one from each of the big kind of chunks of religion, how I divided them up in Eastern and Western. Hopefully that makes sense if I babbled a little bit. It's my first time doing this assignment. So if anything's unclear as to why we're doing it, or after you watch the next video as to what the requirements are, by all means, hit me up. I'll get back with you as soon as I can.